All right. Okay, I'll pull back the screen share. Cool. So let's just pretend, and we can throw some wrinkles into this. And I forget, is Sherlock in the creative engine or not yet? It's okay if he's not. I just couldn't remember. I guess I can just find out.
He's not
Character.
in the creative engine.
Um, let's just pretend that I want to create a new project. Oh, strange. Oh, okay, so that might be a bug. Have you guys seen that? So for some reason, when I click on create a project, it's giving me a stutter screen and it's taking me to the somewhere different. I'm not sure why that might be the case.
Okay, great. Yeah, let's take a look about that.
Okay. Yeah, we'll just go through and jot things down. Let's see if I can create a project from a different place. Yeah, it seems to work fine here. Okay. I'm gonna grab cover image, Sesame Street logo. Fun. Sesame project. Call this project S. I don't know, making things happen. And learning. All right, let's see here. For these purposes, I'm just going to select everything, have access to all the data, and then I'm going to share it with a bunch of folks. Let's see, who else? I'm noticing for some reason, let's see, oh, I have more. Okay. Like if I scroll down in there, it doesn't quite let me, but it's not a big deal. Um, it's like when I search for Brandon for some reason, and then I try to like scroll down to see it, I lose the search. You guys track that? The issue there?
Okay, yeah, great point out.
So let's see if I want to add Brandon. Okay. I'm just adding a bunch of people. So Nicole. Okay, great. I don't know if I added everybody, but lots of people added. Okay, new project. Um, that's fine that the orientation is how it is, no big deal. Um, just as a question, I don't know if this could come in yet. So let's see. If I wanted to delete, actually, you know what I'm going to do? Actually, because there's nothing in it, I'm just going to try to delete the Arthur project. Cool, goes away. Great. In case we need to do that a little bit. And, come back to my projects. It's kind of just see, I'm just messing around with a couple of different things. I'm going to just delete this Annie session. Great. Okay, that all works great. All right, so let's assume that homepage. Okay, so project S, gonna add. Yeah, I think we had talked a little bit about just seeing if there's an easier way to, so you don't have to click twice to find it there. That's something we've talked about. Um, I'm gonna add an environment or two. Is it okay that I'm not putting them into a session yet, or is that gonna confuse things?
Yeah, I wanted to mention that. So right now, for the files to show up in Unreal, we do have to add it into a subsession, but I do have a task created for just looking at the project files.
All right, so that sounds like that'll get ironed out, but just for the sake of this, let me go ahead and create a session. I'm just going to skip the cover photo for now. Elmo time. So is he in this session too? Okay, I don't think he's in the session, right? No, not yet. What is this again? Yes, what is this button for? This plus here?
This is for tag.
Yeah, okay. We should just
Yeah, we should have some indication that this is for tag.
yeah. Or like what would we what types of tags would go there?
And you
Like
can say sesame.
but isn't that already known that it's Sesame? Like is there any utility in that tag?
It will support the search.
Support this search.
I guess like one example could be like departments, like if we have different like animation tag versus layout tag for like what kind of session this is. So you could search for all layout in Magic Treehouse or all final animation in Sesame Street or something. I don't know. There's a way to, it's up to the user to organize it. But yeah, I just learned that today. I had no idea that was there.
Okay, yeah, let's have some level of like maybe as a plus button, there's like a button around it and say add any relevant tags, just something that the user intuitively knows. Um, okay, so now I'm in. This is very minor, but do we need this up here to say session once the session is added, or should it just go like project S Elmo time? Or I guess if I'm in,
That's a good point. Yeah.
might be
So Laura, let's review all of these small details.
okay. Cool, thank you. Yeah, sorry to be anything
No,
too.
it's all great. It's great. Great feedback.
Um, okay, so let me go start adding some into this session, which is great. Yeah, I'm wondering if like Project S, that this is a project name, and then it's a little confusing that this shows up again here. I would just think it would go right to the whatever the session that's nested.
Great
And
point.
it sort of confuses me, and I know we're working on this one, but then I like have to click off the screen to add it. But I know that's a known thing that we're thinking about.
Yeah, we just talked about this one. I think the entire flow here can be polished further. So for example, for the first time user, the plus button there might not be intuitive now. What does that mean? And so Laura and we are also looking into how we can possibly make it more informative and more intuitive.
Cool. And I just noticing that this now, I like how after I've added that session once, it seems like I can just add him again.
Yeah.
I added Jack. That's cool. I'm gonna add a couple motions. I'm gonna let's see. Say go around adding a couple things. Let's go from I'm gonna purposely add a couple.
The base data is a known issue. The base data selection here is not working. It's a known issue.
Okay, cool. So if I want to get, let's see, so maybe I can. Uh, I'm not playing tennis. Maybe I'm doing a little schoolwork. It's cool. I don't think we have anything needed for poses at the moment for this round trip, but I'll just actually I would be curious. Yeah, I'm looking. I'm curious from a retargeting if we can do anything to borrow these Jack poses and put them on Elmo. Is sort of what I'm wondering. And then Elmo's treehouse. Tree. Get a pencil. Okay, added Jack and Elmo. Okay. So let's see. Right there. Okay, so I've added a bunch of stuff. I'm trying to think, is there anything else in the creative engine at this moment?
I think we can start with this.
Okay, great. So I will stop the share here, and I guess maybe why don't we hand it over to Brandon? And you can sort of pull up and show what's going on your side, and I might call out a couple things that I'm just curious, like if we can do them or not, and how seamless it is to do them or not, and we'll go from there.
Sounds good. So I guess I'll go ahead and I have the Chihu plugin installed. And so the first thing I have to do is log in with this button up here. So I'm going to click that. It's going to launch Chrome and tell me my authentication was successful. And it's because I logged into my Chihu Google account. So now
Maybe
I
we can
have
make
access.
that authentication page pretty.
Yeah, I mentioned that a while back. It's always an eyesore.
Maybe we could just use the our Chihu Hollywood sign with the GIF. That would be a nice, easy one.
Yeah, great point. Yeah, let's drop it down. Laura, do you mind to take a note here? And then I think this one Alice can help.
Yeah. I'm also taking notes, so Laura, feel free if you just want to watch and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. This is rapid firing, so super appreciated.
No problem.
For now, I have access to the Chihu tools at this dropdown. So Leo sort of centralized everything under here.
And can we just talk through these for a second? Just like I know what the different ones are used for. I'm just trying to think of like, do we need all of these? Can any of them be nested? It'll just help just to quickly talk about them.
Yeah. Leo, I don't know if you want to jump in or how we should.
Yeah, I can give like an overview of each of these. So the first one, Open Editor, is like what we've called the main widget in the past. So it's kind of like if you don't want to work within the level editor, this
Sorry.
yeah, this would be like a standalone editor with a viewport and a timeline, and a lot of our different tools are all in there. So it's an alternative to just working in a level.
Do we know what caused it to crash, Brandon?
No, we haven't opened it in a while, so or at least I haven't. Not sure.
And do we
But-
like are we actively using that part? Or like
Not really. The focus has definitely shifted more towards the level editor and sequencer.
okay, so my recommendation would be if it's a little bit of a historical thing, we should hide it or not, just take it out for now. Unless you guys, obviously you tell me otherwise, but my part of this is to scrub out anything that'll like somebody might otherwise think would be like I don't I guess
Make some effort to clean all the historical stuff. Yeah, and most of the naming should be also be polished as well.
great. Okay, let's keep going through them. This is great. This is so informative.
Yeah. On the editor, I think it warrants like a longer discussion just because it does have some benefits. But yeah, we can come back to that. But yeah, going through the rest of these are all smaller widgets, so they're all very focused. The Session Explorer allows you to pick a session and look at the files. It's the one with drag and drop. Cloud Search is the one that's using vector search from our creative engine. So that's purely for searching animations. The Session Animation Importer is purely for pulling files from that were uploaded from Maya back into Unreal and eventually send them directly into level sequences. So it's kind of like version control for animations. Sequencer Copilot is basically like semantic search, except it ties in directly with the level sequences. That one's also a bit outdated. I'm not sure if we're going to continue with semantic search, but I'll need to like revisit it. And then Sequence Publisher, that's for publishing level sequences up to our sessions in USDZ format, kind of like the export to Maya. And then the Sequence Character Swapper is a tool that can swap out characters within a level sequence. So say you have a bunch of outdated versions of characters, you can update them to the latest really quickly with that. Neural posing settings arguably shouldn't be here. It's the settings for when you're using neural posing within the level sequencer. So it's not really useful unless you have the level sequence open with a neural posing track.
Yeah. We will have the design studio to come in and look out all of this and try to clean it up and try to aggregate.
Yeah, the thing that jumps out to me is it seems like we have like 3 or 4 different ways to search. I'm wondering if that could live all like there's one search button and either it houses a couple of different search options as different tabs, or like I'm just wondering if that was the thing that jumped out to me is like maybe it's like there's one search and then you can select different ways to search within it. Let's see. Yeah, it sounds like I didn't fully catch Open Editor, but know that there may be some things that are useful in there that maybe those, either get nested into something else or some of the stuff that isn't really used goes away. I think I get what the search things are. I think I definitely get what the character swapper and pose settings are. Yeah, I think the broader question is sort of, do any of these all live within one widget? Or like, do they get migrated into one widget? Or do they live as their own separate widgets? That's just like an open question. But that's something that we don't have to answer that right now. More just like something for us to think about. And
right. All great questions. And for those questions, we will need some designers' help. Yeah, because it's more about the user flow, how what makes more sense about in terms of how the user is going to most informative way and most intuitive way. And I think at this up to this moment, Leo has been implementing based on the requests coming from the Brandon and the creative team. So it is a way that you see here right now, but definitely we will need some design help to make everything more as a holistic solution.
That makes total sense. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry to painstakingly go through all of these, but this is really, really helpful. Anything else? Any other commentary, Leo, on these ones?
No, that's all I have for now.
Okay. Let's keep going, Brandon. Great. Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the Session Explorer. And so basically this will usually pop open just as like you can dock it anywhere. So this is typically the typical flow for widgets in Unreal is you can kind of put them anywhere. So all of these widgets can kind of just go all over. So I'm going to put it up here for now. And so then I'm going to select my project dropdown. And since I'm signed in, it knows that project S was shared with me.
Yep.
And I can see all the other projects that I have access to.
And which
Uh,
widget did you open into? This is in the plugin. This is
This is
the
the Chihu Session Explorer. This is the latest one that Leo just made. Yeah.
yeah. This one seems really powerful. Keep going. Thanks.
Yeah. So we're gonna hit Project S, and it will find the session Elmo time and preview the objects and animations and characters that you added.
That's great.
Mhm.
Totally. And do the oh, there they are. Are they coming in? The like the tree and the
Yep.
so this
Yeah,
is everything.
it's all in there. So
This is props and everything. Basically
there's
all
everything. Yep.
cool.
Wait, sorry, Brandon, I think I missed it. Where were you able to select Elmo time? Top right? Sorry.
Yeah, top right.
Got it.
Yep. And so it automatically selected it. I'm not sure what the behavior is, but yeah, I didn't even have to click it. So I just clicked Project S and it populated it.
And I'm guessing are because the environments are pretty big and heavy, they're not showing up in here either yet or they won't.
Yeah. So we only support FBX characters, FBX animations, USDZ props. So that's the full list at the moment, but we can start expanding on that.
So is it that's awesome. I mean, even I know you managed to do that really quickly, so cool. And that this is great because this is like makes it very easy for somebody to understand that like, yeah, here are your building blocks for your scene. Is it possible to do like if when I had the big environment selected, is that a possibility? Is something to expand?
Yeah, I mean, you could import it into a level. There's going to be some loss. Like if you have a level in Unreal and you export it, there's going to be some data loss. So if you then pull it back into Unreal, it's not going to look the same. The only way to minimize that would be if we're storing Unreal assets on the Creative Engine, but then we also need to like keep track of like what version they are.
How much loss is usually like when you mention like if I brought in that treehouse environment and it's in the engine and then somebody made some changes and then I wanted to bring it back into Unreal. I guess we'll find that out when we try it, but
Yeah, I mean it depends on the environment, but a lot of stuff can be dropped.
Yeah, I think
go ahead, Brandon.
I was just gonna comment that yeah, that's sort of the for the purposes of the Creative Engine demo, I think a lot of it was like we were noticing, depending on what the workflow that was used in Unreal, USD wasn't able to properly handle how to do it. So for example, the Frog Creek Forest, like we were using PCG, which is like procedural foliage spawning. So it's not traditional techniques. So when it got exported, the forest was gone except for like the treehouse and the hand placed like 3 trees. And a lot of the textures are sort of missing, and that's just the way that USD behavior is. And so what do you call it? What we've been using that for is primarily layout, not for final quality environments, but just so the animators understand what the scene is and where they are, kind of a thing. But yeah, there's inherent like quality loss, at least the way that we've been doing it as of now, with like default USD.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we can any way we can still figure out some way to store the Unreal Engine project files as well. But just as Leo and Brendan say, we also need to figure out the proper metadata information associated with that. So for example, this is open with the Unreal Engine 5.4 with certain plugin that to extract the forest. So yes.
great. Okay. So environments is a known issue that we may have to figure out how to tackle to preserve more of that, but that's great and I think a good learning.
Oh, so quick question. Are we suggesting that okay, so let's say there's something that can only be done in Unreal, and that stuff may not be able to send to the Maya. So what we are going to do is that when we store the data and do the transfer, we will annotate part of the data that is not transferable and part of the data that is transferable. so that when the people open in Maya, they will only see the data part that is able to transfer. But the actual but the data actually has the Unreal component, but we just do not show it on Maya. So is this what we are proposing?
In our workflow, when we and Brandon, please feel free to correct any time. In our workflow, we only send the animation part to Maya to do the polish. We don't send the entire scene. We only send part of it just to illustrate the
I see.
idea of the layout animation. And
I see.
the
So we
detail
we
rendering
actually
is actually only happening in our engine, including all the simulation, all the leaves, all the forest stuff. So it is totally fine to just leave it in our engine.
yeah, we do send the whole scene, but like I said, there's elements like your point way where we don't get the particles or the lights or the textures don't transfer over great, but all the geometry usually does. So the whole scene is there for context, but not for final quality. Yeah. It's like a proxy version of the environment.
Got it.
Yep. Um,
Should we drag in Elmo here?
yeah, and also just good call out from Sean. His pencil doesn't seem to be showing up.
Oh, true.
Yeah, I did check that when you added it. It's only Maya files and there's no USDZ.
Only my files and no expand on that. So just
Yeah, so the files associated with what you see on the Creative Engine, just the pencil, is they're all Maya, but there's no USDZ file, or I don't even know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So who is sharing the screen right now? It's Brandon, right? Do you mind to open the Creative Engine page?
Sure. Right here.
Yeah, and just search assets. Click search assets.
just an aesthetic thing. For some reason, I noticed that when Brandon logged into the page, for some reason the
So
those
can you go back to the search create search page?
Oh yeah, sure. Yep. What do you want me to search?
Search assets. Just click search assets.
Oh, I see.
And then go to props.
We're saying, Michael, that the preview image
And then click pencil.
I didn't notice that.
Yes, and so here, can you scroll down to see the files?
Yeah.
Yeah, so here you will see the files that they have.
Yeah, one other thing here, I don't think I can expand to see like it's getting cut off.
Right. So yeah, this is something that we need to fix it. Laura and Oren.
You also have like add to project here as well. Yeah. You mean you cannot scroll down to see all the files?
Yeah, like the name of the thing is getting cut off. So it looks like a .ma here, but I don't know what file this is. I could click on it and find out that yeah, it's a .ma. So yeah, what Leo's point is that these aren't compatible with Unreal. That's why it's not showing up.
How did you create a preview thumbnail, Sean?
Yeah, why the green rectangle here?
At some point we had a USDZ.
Oh, that's the green rectangle is from my computer. That's I think that's NVIDIA. Let me close NVIDIA control panel. I'm not sure why that's there. But I don't think that's a website thing. Yeah, it's still on my screen. Yeah, it's not a website thing. Okay.
So
Yeah, go ahead.
So the couple things that we're unpacking there, how did we generate a preview file of that? What's the workaround if it's just a Maya file? can we still run it through our USDZ workflow? Those are some open questions.
Yeah, for the thumbnail, I did that so I can answer it. I think I got a USD. I imported it into Unreal, re-exported it as USDZ, and generated it with that. And I sent it to Steven, but I think he had a lot on his plate. So maybe I'll post all the files that are missing in a public channel.
Yeah, that sounds good. And just help me understand, this is more just process orientation. When Sophia or Noel uploads something, how does it get into whatever proper format is needed, which I guess is USDZ when it ends up on the Creative Engine, or
Yeah.
like is there not a manual way that you don't have to do it one by one?
This is a part about data scalability that we have been talking about. So currently, we only support the manual way. We need to enable some pipeline to do it, and this is a big effort. And yeah, we are trying to build this one.
Okay. Cool. Great. Thank you. Okay, so I think that's excellent. We have figured out that not to lose sight of really cool that we can get Elmo and all of our motions and most of our props, and there are some more props that we're figuring out. And then environments is a trickier thing that we can also tackle how to not lose too much information when we import and export from the Creative Engine in and out of Unreal. But I think I understand what some of those limitations are. And back to you, Brandon.
Sure. So I guess I'll go ahead and drag and drop Elmo. So as you can see, I can have a sort of preview of where it's going to get dropped. And I can let go. And our boy is huge. So don't be afraid if you see a big red menace come your way.
It's just a big boy, yeah.
But it's an automatic import. And so
That's cool.
what's happening behind the scenes is it's actually being placed in your content folder wherever this file path is. So if you wanted to change it, you would come to here and say, actually, I want this to go under characters, under Elmo. And it'll that file directory is where any of these that you drag and drop or click import will go to.
Okay, got it.
So it's sort of, yeah, user doesn't need to think about it, but if they want to override it, they can.
Cool. And then Leong, I think is just pointing out can add an item more than once to a session. Do you mean on the Creative Engine or?
Yes, on the Creative Engine website. So maybe you can try add the Elmo twice. Yeah.
Okay. And so if we want to see our boy Elmo running, you'll drag and drop, and then you should start running here with Jack's animation.
Oh, interesting. So hold on, that's great. And just slow that down for me again. Just walk through that one more time.
Yeah. So I'll go ahead and clear it. So he's T-posing again. And then all I did was just drag and drop over Elmo.
That's super cool. So really great. And let's just talk skeletons for a moment. Is it because they have the same advanced skeleton, or like how is that possible? It's great. Help me understand it a little more.
Yeah, so it's using Unreal Engine auto retargeting. So there's a list of supported skeletons, but in the case where like either Jack was not on that list or Elmo was not on that list, then we would need the user to provide a retargeting asset that they've created. So I might need to add like a settings to this for providing that manual retargeter.
So let's just think about that for a second.
In the current workflow, in the current onboarding workflow, whenever the user provide a new character to us, we will put it into our retargeting service list, character list. And with that, then what you see here will be automatically done. And what Leo was talking about was in some case that the user did not follow our character onboarding workflow.
Got it. Okay. So
yeah, and to be clear, so this is not an advanced skeleton, and I believe when Kent made it, he used like a Mixamo auto rig or something like that, and it basically just automatically works with Unreal Auto retargeting. So no custom work was done to make Elmo work with the
Okay.
retargeting. Just happened to be a compatible skeleton.
This is a question for Hubert. Let's just imagine that we had that dinosaur in the creative engine, and you try to put Jax running onto the dinosaur that has like a very complex rig and all that good stuff. Would that just like blow up everyone's brains?
So okay, so right now what we are doing is that we do the partial retargeting. We only retarget the leg, and then we use the neural posing model to generate the joint movement for the rest of the dinosaur for the dinosaur. So the demo we have been seeing, that one is not applying any smoothing, but it already looks pretty good. So so the thing I am thinking now is so there are two ways to do this to further make it more robust and less manual. The first one is that we will try to write a large language model based parser to determine which part should be partially retargeted. So this is the first path we can do that. The second path we are planning to do is that we are planning to study. So we already studied several different technologies for arbitrary skeleton retargeting. I don't know how robust is that. So, but we can certainly try it, and that is a piece that we are starting to investigate, but haven't put much effort on it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
but I mean, I feel right now, when we want to do the live demo, I feel the humanoid skeleton is more safe.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we can always save the retargeter from A skeleton to B skeleton in the character itself. But for different skeletons, for different very different skeletons, we I don't know how I don't think there is an efficient way to save the retargeter. So we need to do the online retargeting every time when performing arbitrary skeleton to arbitrary skeleton. Of course, we will solve this in the future, but right now we can only do that online. So for some live demo, we may not want to show that.
Okay. No problem. Got it. Okay. So question would be, now imagine, what if I wanted to see Elmo running and then swinging the tennis racket and then sitting down in the chair?
All right. So sequencer will be your friend. So now I'm going to go here, and this is just a normal workflow. I'm going to come here and I'm going to create a level sequence. So this is a scene. I'm going to call this Elmo live demo. I'm going to open it up, and this is all, once again, just normal Unreal. I'm going to set my frame rate to 24 frames per second. And then I'm going to take Elmo here. I'll rename him just for sanity. So I'm going to say this is Elmo. And I'm going to drag and drop him into sequencer. And so now I have a track. And right now, what we'd like to happen, but is not ready just quite yet, is you'd be able to drag and drop onto the timeline. At this current moment, this is not possible. But what we can do is, because, for example, Jack running was imported into just the content browser. This is what it will look like. Just imagine it's coming from over here. You go over here, and I can then hover over my timeline and scoot it around. So this is sort of like where you do the motion stitching. You're able to sort of say, on my Elmo, I want him to run at the beginning. And then as soon as I let go, it creates an animation clip that then now you can scrub through and see how he's running. You can extend it. slide it around. It's like editing with motions. So as of now, what I would do is if we wanted tennis, I would drag and drop it onto Elmo, and that would actually preview it so you could see what it looks like on Elmo, but it wouldn't be added to your timeline. And then what you could do is you could drag and drop it and then actually play with like, okay, well, I want it when he starts to swing the racket and kind of blend that. So he's going to stop, swing the racket, and then he's going to do his thing. Feel free to jump in at any point, but that's sort of the idea. So
He's moving. Is he moving in place when he's running there? Like I'm wondering, like, what if you were literally running or then?
Yep. So yeah, he's running in place, and that's because yeah, there's no like root motion on this animation that we're using. So like you'll notice that for some of the other mocap, the scale is also a weird thing. I could scale our boy down a bit so that there's not an issue. So if I wanted him running, this is once again kind of normal sequencer, you'd add a key on the transform track, and this sort of captures where he is in world space, and then I drag him forward. So when he's running, he'll go from point A to point B, but you will get the foot sliding problem because it doesn't know how, it's not baked into the animation. So you kind of have to eyeball it. At least for this animation as an example. So now he's actually moving through space, and then he swings the tennis racket. And then we can find the sitting down in a chair one, which another thing I'm noticing is that we don't have we previously had like a way where when it would hover over the animation, you could see the description as like a tooltip. Just something I remembered today that I was like, oh, I don't think that's actually on here. But that would be helpful. And
One
so,
other
yeah.
quick thing, just before I lose it. Also, the pose. Did the poses get pulled into here or not yet?
Yeah, there might be some compatibility issues with that. It should all load pretty much instantly. So if it's not here, there's some compatibility issue.
Is that similar to like the pencil potentially?
Yep. Yeah.
That's a good one for us to maybe look into. Okay. I get this. And just a question. So like when Cartwheel, for example, on their web-based version has a sequence of events that are strung together, how do we think that they're doing that?
What do you mean by that? I think what Brandon just showed here is exactly what you described, right? Brandon just concatenate a bunch of the different motions together.
Yeah, I'm sort of just wondering from like a web-based solution, like if we weren't in Engine, how they're getting to that same place.
Yes, we can do the same thing that like what Brandon do here on WebEx as well.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. The reason I'm asking is because I think for just helpful to know what our capabilities are, and I think there for a certain person, here's my hypothesis, and this is more longer term, is that as the library grows and grows, as we have more things that are more and more robust, there will be a user generated content person who might say, okay, I want to have Elmo doing XYZ type of thing. I'll make it up inside Fortnite. And even if they're not a technical user, they could achieve something like that from the web. But that's cool to know. And what would it require for us to bring that onto the website?
We will first need to bring back the original text to motion interaction to our Create Engine, and that is in our plan. And then after that, we can support the stitching, the concatenation of the motion.
Okay.
I wouldn't expect. I think it's pretty. I wouldn't expect there is any blocker. Just take time.
Okay, very helpful to know. Thank you. Brandon, when we had the video that had the Frog Creek environment background,
Mhm.
how did that successfully work in the prior? Did you have to like store it locally, or what was the?
Yeah, I was just using the Unreal level in the Magic Treehouse project file where we had exported it from. So it was from the source. So it wasn't, I didn't get it from the Creative Engine. I just had it locally.
Okay. Yeah, that's one I'd like to think a little bit further about, just for the group of like how do we navigate that? What are we storing on the Creative Engine as it relates to an environment? If the idea is you could mix match an environment or swap it in or grab it or pull it in reasonably easily, what would it take to make that happen?
Yes, on that question. So, Leo, do you think that it is possible that we can support loading the USDC environment? I know, as you say, we are going to lose some information, but can we just support it and see what kind of information loads there?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great. Yeah, that'll help us learn some things for sure.
So I can also go ahead and create a camera here, building a little scene of sorts. And then I can start to sort of get some basic camera movement here. So we're gonna like pan as animal comes across. So it's gonna be coming into frame. I'm gonna watch him hit the tennis racket, and then we're gonna tilt down when he sits down. So we're seeing him come in, hit the tennis, and then sit down. And then I guess I'll go ahead and drag and drop some environment piece here. So I can bring in the Magic Treehouse tree. Put it in the background. This one is a dense file, so it does take a little bit. Okay, giant tree imported. And so let's just imagine that we want to create like a mini, forest behind Elmo. I can just duplicate this guy, rotate it around, get a bunch of these guys around here. So
This is like Bob Ross in Unreal Engine right now. I love it.
that's what we're here for, man. Yeah, so just
And if you wanted
happy
to-
accident,
If you wanted to go back to now, let's say you wanted to grab something in the Creative Engine. Let's say okay. Now I go back to the Creative Engine, and I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna go add something right now. I'm gonna go back and add. What do I want to add? Go back to your old dancing friend.
Do you want to share your screen?
It's okay. I'm just gonna add I'm gonna add waltzing. Oh, interesting. Okay. And I think I added it twice to Leong's question earlier. Let's see if it showed up twice. Strange. Yeah, I don't know if it's not showing up at the moment for some reason. Does anybody see the?
Okay. I got 2 waltzing animations right here.
Okay, yeah, interesting. Yeah, they just took a second to load on my side, but yeah. Okay, so they're there. So you can add the same file twice, and maybe we don't want that, or maybe we do. I don't know. Probably not. But...
the original idea is that maybe over the time someone want to emphasize that this file is so important and they want to keep repeating it. So we allow it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. Great. So, and then did you just hit a refresh button or something? Or did it just, how did that show up?
Yeah. So I went and selected Elmo time as a session again, and you see it says choose session data sync complete. But we were talking about adding maybe like a refresh icon.
Yeah, I think a refresh icon would be great, but that's great. That's a really nice, I mean, that's awesome, right? That's real time getting my assets.
Yep. So if we wanted this guy to be waltzing in the background of the scene while this is going on, we can have that. And
Jack waltzing in the background.
you want Jack waltzing? Let's get Jack waltzing. So I'll drag in. I think this is Jack. It's labeled as Annie though, which has me a little worried.
Oh, that's strange.
Let's find out.
Can't wait. Find out what will go next.
Okay, it is Annie. Got the wires crossed.
And is that just because when we manually did a preview, something got jankified? Technical term?
I think something was when we do the import, possibly there was some table issue or some importing issue. We noticed some of them this before, but we haven't got time to clean it up.
Okay.
Cool. Okay. So, but we'll get Annie waltzing. Another thing is, yeah, I'm not sure that the material's transferred over. Great. So we're just sort of have these colors.
Right. Okay.
But there's Annie doing something.
Pretty creepy.
Yeah, it's a little eerie.
Ghost Annie. Materials.
She's definitely the star of a horror movie here. Put her in the trees.
If you wanted Elmo and Annie, just trying to think about this. Okay, so is there, before we talk AI posing tools, is there anything else that I think we've sort of figured out where some of the work needs to be done, or where we think some of the work can be happening? Is there anything else we've just as far as this flow? But I mean, I know we're pointing out all the stuff that's not working, but I want to just pause and point out all the stuff that is working. Very, very cool. Like this is huge in terms of bringing this to life. So please don't take this punch list of next things as anything but that. It's really remarkable that in just the last couple of days pulling these pieces together. So we can, check the box of, the one of the mini milestones that I mentioned was like, yeah, how quickly could we get Elmo or any character or most characters moving and doing different poses and things from the library really quickly. And I think that's now been achieved. So that's great. Are there the neural posing tools in here?
Yeah. So I'm probably going to create a new sequence here so that we keep things organized. So Elmo goes back to big mode because sequencer overrides all that, but I'll go ahead and
you just made him smaller, scaled him down. Got it.
During the demo, I just scaled him down for the sequence that we created here. So, but I'm going to go ahead and create a new sequence. Call it Elmo posing line. And so for the sake of just visuals, once again, I'm going to scale this guy down so that it's not too unwieldy. I will drag and drop him to the sequence. And then I'm going to click add a track to Elmo.
Can I just ask real quick too, is this a thing where like if you scaled him down, could you like export back to the creative engine scaled down Elmo?
This is some question we haven't thought about yet. So you were saying that we want to store the same Elmo character model and rig, but with different scale, right?
Yeah, that would be the question here. I don't know how important that is, but maybe it's not that important. I was just curious.
I think it's definitely possible to store it back. But just we haven't thought about how to properly store the metadata yet. Possibly we just use a different version. That's definitely possible.
Yeah, I don't think that's not very important. I was just curious. I was just wondering because like in the same way that if we change an animation motion, and that can get stored back in the engine if we change the character. But let's just assume that we're getting a close to final character in the engine as our starting place. Okay.
Okay, so yeah, so you'll notice we have a lot of Qihoo custom tracks that usually would not be here if you didn't have the plugin installed. But the main one that we're using here is the neural posing track as of late.
And yeah, I guess I would just ask the same question of, for a first time user, it's a lot of like, is there anything we can take out of here or nest into one thing or think about how to title these or highlight like this is the one that we use and just put that as like if most of the other stuff is not used or we don't anticipate using.
Yeah, we might be able to nest these guys from head signal to right foot all under like environmental signal control or something like that. But I defer to Leo on that.
Yeah, no, I was thinking the same thing. And also maybe the edit track should probably be more like neural motion track or something, because that's what we use to do like AI motion requests.
So in my opinion, after seeing Brandon, your current workflow, I think it actually makes sense to okay, so we have a motion Canva like somewhere, right? And then when someone they want to find a motion but they cannot find it, it just seems to makes more sense to just generate the motion in that motion Canva. And then the rest of the procedure will be the same as what Brandon you do. You just drag the motion inside the sequencer. I know it is not dragging now. It is like try to move it to another place and then drag it within the sequencer, but you know what I mean. So I feel yes, we can do it on the sequencer using our original neural motion feature design. But just looking at the current Brandon's workflow, uh, in my opinion, the neural motion model should appear in that motion Canva.
Yeah, just because it's basically what you're saying, Hubert, is if that's where you're doing most of your work, just have it exist there.
Yeah. So for example, I think this should be a easy thing. Not sure. So Leo, you should tell me. So in the motion Canva, right? We can have an image there that is like a plus. So when we click on that, that is actually calling the backend of the neural motion model. So click on that, and it pops out a window. You can insert some text, and then you click OK, and then some motions will be generated.
Yeah, no, that makes sense to me. I guess the benefit with sequencer would be you have the timeline, but
Yes,
yeah, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, so I think the sequence so directly coding the model on the sequencer, the goal is wanting to have a more fine-grained control. But just for what Brandon is showing me, I think even I can do that. I don't know how to use the sequencer, but even I can do that. Yeah.
That's a good sign.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good sign. I'm just being mindful of time. How's everyone feeling here? So there's two routes that we can go. We can either keep going small bit by small bit, or we could sort of fast forward a little bit to get through the full cycle. Why don't we let's keep going. And if we need to double back into some of these, we definitely will. I just know we're going over an hour now, and we're in the weeds on it, which is good. Just don't want people to burn. So okay, take us through that a little bit. And this is basically where you're getting your neural tools going.
Yep. So these are all the different models. So we have base, shiny, Annie Jack, all that, Alex Rose. So I'm gonna do the base model for Elmo.
Okay.
And then this is where it gets a little not so intuitive, but basically I'm gonna open neural posing settings. And that's gonna open up this widget here, which I'll then expand because it's kind of a big boy here. But basically, because every skeleton's a little different, basically not all the effectors are going to populate with the right scale according to that character. So because we scaled Elmo down, and in general he's just a strange scale, what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the chest effector to start, and then I'm going to go through here and like basically play by scaling up each of these guys. So you can see what's going on. So it becomes a lot.
Yeah, this part always loses me, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think we can simplify this UI a lot. Right now it's like maximum control, so you can get it to work, but yeah, I mean, if we have a list of characters we want to support, we could like save settings for each of them. We're already doing a little bit of that, but
Right.
like,
Yeah, so the biggest example is like because Elmo is not one of our like supported characters, what we have to do is kind of be like, where's the head? Here's the head. Where's the hand? Here's the left hand, because every bone is named differently. So you'll see when I do that, the effector actually pops to his left hand properly. But it is a bit of a manual exercise if you don't have a character that is like matching a supported skeleton exactly. And so instead of pelvis, it's the hips. And then instead of foot underscore L, it's left foot. And so this is something that is a bit more of like a advanced Unreal user thing where it's not quite as intuitive.
Yeah, we should try to figure out how to make this part either the character onboarding process or the very simplified version of it, or yeah, anything that would make these neural posing more accessible to the not advanced, even the basic Unreal user.
Yep. So, but now if I go to drag his arm, whoa, something.
Brandon, you might want to switch the local forward on.
Oh, that's right. I knew I was forgetting something. Yeah. Okay. So
That's a lot
then,
of settings.
and this one, yeah, I don't understand quite what this means, but I'm told to switch this to that, and then now I think it will be okay. Hopefully. Yeah. Well, something's going on. Let's see.
We have to figure out how if we're in a state where Brandon is, I don't know what that means, but I just switch it. We should figure out if there's a way to make it either simplified or that's like just manually or automatically we'll do something like that.
Yeah, okay. So now it's happy with me now. These are the golden settings for Elmo. He's all excited about it. I can have him look around with his whole body. So I'll have him face this guy. Then I'll have him sort of go to crouch down or something here. But yeah, then it sort of just becomes like a control rig type setup. And each of these keys here is a pose. So you'll see it'll actually blend between the two poses on the timeline. So just doing a little something here. So yeah, sort of like once it gets set up, it's less confusing, but I definitely think that is a flow we should figure out how to streamline, whether it's like something similar to the automatic retarget that the user doesn't have to think about it, or if it's a supported character, there's some way to sort of have that on a drop-down list. But yeah. So I don't want to take up too much more time, but that's
yeah. Let's soft circle this as like an area that we want to spend some time with to think about how to make it more intuitive and streamlined a little bit. But that's great. Okay, great. Yeah, well, let's keep powering forward in terms of, I think we have at least the big chunks on the Unreal side of like plenty of stuff to think about for this, for this upcoming. Let's now start shifting towards, okay, I got Elmo running, tennis, sitting
Yep.
down.
Yep.
And is it right to say that when you made a neural pose adjustment, it could seamlessly live on that sequencer with whatever else was going on there?
Yeah, so we tested that today, and basically, yeah, the process is you bake that to an animation, which is typical for any kind of control rig, and then it will act like one of those purple clips, but it was created with neural posing, and then you can blend between other ones from the Creative Engine, and publish it to Maya. And we did our first test today where we did a neural posing adjustment, and then we were able to open that up in Maya.
And then we have, let's say you had that scene, of Ghost Annie doing the waltz and Elmo being his Elmo dog. Um, Imagine and the trees, and I want to get those to Maya. How would we go about that?
Yes. So let me open it back up here. I think because I scaled our boy, we're having some that might have messed up our previous sequence, unfortunately. Let me see here. Yeah, he's like super tiny. Let me open up a different one that I did earlier here. Okay. Oh, this is not something that I've encountered before. So I think it was renaming my.
Can you do like the right click on the binding to just like assign it to that?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. And then he goes like super small mode.
Oh.
You want to share your screen maybe, or?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, because I think when I scaled him, it's supposed to save the transform, but it was doing. Okay, he's back to normal. So I reopened the level and it was fine. So here's our boy. We got him sitting down. We're good to go. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the sequence publisher. And this is what's going to send it off to Maya. So I'll go here. Basically, one thing I was thinking about is maybe when you open it up, it automatically adds whatever sequence you have open to be on the queue. That's something I think that Movie Render Queue does. But yeah, we can think of this as like an export queue. So if I drag my sequence that I created, which is what we're previewing here, drag and drop, it'll get added to the queue. And then user doesn't have to think about this, but if they want to customize the assets, they can actually create like a preset here, and it has access to all the USD settings for the export. But we're just going to keep it as default. Project S, it's already going to my project dropdown and to the session dropdown. And from here, I can actually create my own session if I want to, but we can also, I guess let's do that for the sake of it. So I'm going to go to Elmo UE, Elmo Live Demo UE, and I'll say Elmo runs, plays tennis, and sits down. I'm going to hit add. So on the Creative Engine, you should now see Elmo Live Demo UE. And I can also export this locally if I wanted to, but for now, I'm not going to. I'm just going to do it on the cloud. I'm going to say, hey, Nicole, here's the scene ready for you in Maya, or something like that. And so I can go ahead and hit publish.
Sorry, before you do that,
Oh, what's up?
no question. So under the shot drop-down list, you could have saved it to that original session, but you chose to create a new session.
Yes. Yeah, I could have saved it. I can also still save it to that session if I wanted to. Yeah.
That's cool. I can see in my creative engine Elmo Live demo UE already. That's cool.
Yeah, I just wanted to show that we have the ability to create sessions from Unreal side. So it finished. So now if we refresh, go to Unicall, you might see a file waiting for you.
Will this be okay? Great, thank you. So this is Nicole taking us into the engine first.
Yeah, I don't see it on my side. Brandon oh no, I do. Okay, I just needed to close it. All right, let me share my screen.
Yeah, it's on the creative engine as well right now.
Yeah, I just needed a refresh. Okay, so if I want to say,
on the creative engine side, I'm just curious, it has like the wonkiest of file names or session or something names.
Yes.
Where does that come from? Or like is there a way to make that name that differently or something?
If it's just like a random sequence of characters and numbers, it's because I want to avoid like overwriting files, but yeah, we could definitely think about that.
Yeah, I'm wondering if we should either have somebody name what that file is, or it should automatically pull from the session name or something like that. Probably we should just name it. We should let the user just name it, probably.
Yeah, probably whatever I typed in the name field, like for ML Live Demo, it should probably just be called that.
Yeah. So just curious too, on the creative engine side, what is this file? I can't download it. Like I'm going to the download button. I see it in my files. I can get to the Elmo Live Demo UE.
Do you mind sharing your screen, Michael?
So very cool that it exists here. I went Live Demo UE. It came up as a new session. I can't click on it or anything, I don't think.
Right now we are not supporting download yet. For the file that push from the UE or Maya in the web, but we definitely can support. Yes. But yeah, maybe we can roll it down and then download that.
Yeah, or maybe we want to also show like what file format it is somewhere.
Yeah, we have the information. We should be, yeah, we can do that. We can maybe just add at the end of the files, like that random text plus the file extension.
Okay.
Yeah. Very
Cool.
cool.
Okay. Pop back out. Sorry, Nicole. Thank you.
no worries. All right. All right, so got my Jihu Cloud File Manager here. I can go to the project. I can see both Elmo time. So I just wanted to point out, I can see the pencil because I'm in Maya. So it just shows, yeah, Maya files can be seen on my end, but I cannot see any of like the motions or the FBX files, I think. The only things I can have are like Mecha Elmo and Annie, and then got the treehouse because I think it's a USD FBX, one of the two. I don't know.
You're saying you can't see the motions for what reason?
I just can't see them. They're not listed on here.
Is that, Leon, is that because it's like not a supported file type yet, or could it be?
I think it's supposed to show it because I do different approach in my I just show every file from the session. So yeah, I need to take a look to see why it doesn't show.
Okay, thank you.
But I want to import the file that Brandon just made. So Maya's is not as fancy. I have to go and download it to my local file. I'm sure we'll figure out that later, but so right now I can copy the file path, and I can see that it's a USDZ. So that's actually what that file is, Michael. So
And just
I'm
up on that real quick, because Liang, I'm just curious, is when you say it's not as fancy, do you mean like having previews and drag and drop?
yeah.
Gotcha. And is that possible in Maya, or
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's possible.
just takes time? Yeah. Okay, totally understand. I'm just
And one quick also before you close, Nicole, the character is listed as Manny, which it's not. It's Elmo. Slash like also I don't know that we need to specify the character if it's not reading from the Creative Engine. So just wanted to call that out as well as like version 1. Like I don't know if these are customizable on our end, whether it's the Creative Engine or on the UE export side, or if these are just like a sort of default.
On the character, that's an Unreal issue. I'll write that down.
Okay, sweet.
All right, so I copied that file path, and so now I can use the USD manager to load, open, and then I can match the frames per second and the frame range that Brandon had, and then duplicate Canvas's Maya data. So now I have exactly the same camera movement as Brandon. So, and I think yeah, textures. It doesn't look exactly like Brandon's, but it's close enough. It gives me the general idea. So there's that. Right now, because Elmo doesn't have a Maya rig, I can't showcase the neural posing on him or the animation transfer. So that's kind of unfortunate.
Have you tried it?
Well, for one, I could bring in Elmo, the FBX Elmo, but
I mean, probably can try to transfer to any rig.
sure, I can try. Hopefully it doesn't. I was trying that earlier and it was like crashing, but I can try.
Oh,
Why
okay,
not?
then never mind.
just to get to the root of this, so why can't it work on this character? And is there a path to getting it to work on this character?
It's now the way it's similar to Unreal. So if I don't know this skeleton, I cannot transfer the animation. So if it today it's a many skeleton, I support it, and I support some skeleton, but since Elmo is new, so probably it haven't been supported. Oh.
Right. But at an even larger scale, the other answer is like we don't have like Elmo doesn't have a Maya rig, right? Like we didn't have like a animator friendly Maya rig created for it. It's just a skeleton. So there would be nothing to transfer it to. There's no way for Nicole to edit it without editing an ugly skeleton. I didn't mean to do a thumbs down. But what do you call it? So there's that. It doesn't have a Maya rig, but then what Liang's saying is like, yeah, we could potentially retarget it to a different control rig, but you start to lose some of that sort of specificity or accuracy.
Yeah, so I guess what I'm trying to wrap my brain around is, yeah, like how do we deal with this challenge? And we don't have to answer it right in this moment, but maybe just Sophia to note as a bold one, because I know this is a sort of a big one of it sort of falls into this category of like character onboarding. What's the most frictionless way to be able to support the the AI tools on top of this character, even if it's not a Maya rig to begin with, or is there a path to doing that, or so like I just sort of put that out as a big question for us to break into a chunk of. We're not going to answer it right now, but let's think about how we want to tackle something like that. So at the moment, we cannot use the AI tools on Elmo, the posing. Is that right?
No, I mean, as long, or I can't do it to USD data. I can only do it to Maya data. So because there's no way for me to transfer Elmo's animation onto Maya data, like I could try it on Annie. I think it's gonna crash, but so yeah, there's no way for me to do it on Elmo right now, but I could, if you want me to show the neuroposing as it is right now on Annie, because I did reference her in, I could do that. But as of now, no, I can't do it on Elmo.
Got it. And sorry, explain it to me one more time on why you can't, because it's in USDZ or because it's in Maya as opposed to USDZ, or the other way around?
The other way, so it's Elmo's USDZ data. I can't edit that data animation wise. I can only do that while it's in Maya data.
And is
So
there a pathway from USDZ to Maya?
yes, I can do this. I can say, okay, Elmo, I want to edit as Maya data. Where did he go? Oh, he's here. So then I can see his skeleton from here. So I could technically move him up and down. I can technically like rotate his legs. You can't really see him because he's all black. Just make it somewhat easier. But yeah, I can technically move him around, but I'm using the actual skeleton. I'm not using like a nice control rig like we have here with Annie. So that's one thing to note. But if I wanted to brute force it, yes, I could.
Okay, well let's kind of leave this as just a topic to have a deeper dive into of how do we clean up is it possible, or how do we clean up a pathway to be able to get, have that be a little bit more seamless if it can be.
Mhm.
Right. Like, but with the example of like, if we had a Maya rig for Elmo, then we'd be able to do the transfer. But the caveat being, I think as of now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it would need to be an advanced skeleton, or at least we've only tested with advanced skeleton for the animation transfer.
I two feedback. One is I think it's possible to generate the rig, a Qihoo simple version rig based on skeleton. Yeah, that's possible. And for the requirement to transfer animation to, for example, our Annie rig is, I need to recognize the skeleton, and because the Elmo skeleton is new, so it's possibly not working. But if it's a recognized skeleton like Manny and Jack, and it will working.
Okay.
I'm really sad that Annie's waltz didn't transfer over for some reason. I would have.
So I was going to call that out. So that was my fault because I literally just forgot to add it to the sequence. So she was animated in the world, but not on the timeline. So that's not even a fault of anything other than just the data wasn't there. So, but it would have been working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess just for just to showcase it, I can so imagine Annie was moving. I can I'll duplicate this instead. And it won't look as impressive because she's not moving, but I can reset the rig, reset skeleton, match the pose. So then now Annie is matched to this Annie, and then I don't need to connect it because she's not moving. But if I were to connect it, she would be moving and she would be following exactly the USD or the Annie that was in Unreal. And then I could bake down the animation, but there's nothing there. So I'm not gonna waste people's times on that. So there's that, and then last and not least, I'm gonna just quickly just show how the neural posing is working for Annie. So I'm gonna add character, use the new Annie, download model. It shouldn't take too long. I'm pretty sure. Did I download? Okay, here. Advanced skeleton. Right. So now I can go to neural mode and then I can pose her whichever which way. I can add keyframe or I can use the Maya hotkey. Yeah. Phil did bring this up. When I move on the timeline, it is moving the neural posing model, or the neural rig. So that's a little weird, but just gonna do one more pose or whatever.
Can you repeat that one more time? Nicole, what did
Phil was saying when you move on the timeline, like the neural pose rig moves without you telling it to.
I see.
So like
You're talking about the effector shapes?
yeah. It's not really doing it for me right now, but Phil has a video and he sent me a video. I can send it to the Maya plugin channel, but he also made a note on Notion too. So okay, I'm done. So I will go back to FK mode and then it would show all the poses in FK. And if I wanted to, I haven't actually played with this yet. I've been busy all day. I can have Annie's feet stay in place in IK. And then I can move just her upper body with the neuro, but then her feet will stay the same and then keyframe it and then I can go back to FK mode after that. So that's about it for my side for Maya.
And then if you wanted to take that and export it back to the engine.
Yeah, so I can I'm gonna just remove. I'm just gonna do it from scratch. I want Annie, add selected, builds out all these names for you. I want it Project S and I want it in the Elmo live demo UE. And then I'm gonna push to cloud and then export, and then it's gonna export out the sequence as a USDZ. So that's also something you cannot see on the engine, but Brandon should be able to open it in theory. I don't know if we haven't tried that back yet, or have we? I don't know.
We haven't. I also haven't had time today to look at this new widget that Leo's concocted, but I can share my screen and find out if we want to.
So where would this live on the engine?
This would be under the Project S Elmo live demo UE session, the same place where I just pulled the Elmo, the one that Brandon sent me. Yeah.
Yeah, and same thing. We should have a file name that's easier to read there, or just a same comment there, but great.
Do you have the option to create new sessions? Like there was,
No, not on the Maya side yet.
And then I see it on the engine, so I guess it's a question of Brandon, can you open it back in Unreal?
That's right. Let's do it. So now I'm going to take a look at, oh no, can you see the screen? I'm going to take a look at session animation importer. And I'm going to go to Project S, Elmo Live Demo UE, and you can see right here, Annie, Geometry Cache version 1. So I'm going to tick that, and I'm going to import selected. Don't know if that happened.
I also didn't get like, yeah, it's complete pop-up,
Okay.
so I don't
Okay.
know if it actually did or not.
That's probably want some progress tracking.
Right. Yeah, I guess I'll add it to like a any animation folder so I know where it's going. So I'm gonna say put it in any animation, select, import selected. Okay, importing.
And I'm sort of wondering here if you just hit import selected, is there any easier way that it I guess so. What did you export out? Just the Annie character?
Yeah, just the Annie character.
Like I wonder if there's a world where that new Annie, in the same way that like you would have a Jack motion or another motion living inside the file previews, like you could almost drag like as simple as it just like refreshes into your panel like all the other stuff.
Yeah, so one thing to keep in mind, at least the way that this is set up now, is that it's actually exporting as a geometry cache, which means it doesn't have like skeletal data to it. So it wouldn't be able to be used in the same way that we use like the other animations where we retarget to other characters. This one is more geared towards production, where you'd use it for like a final quality animation for rendering in Unreal. And also, we are figuring out the materials. So it doesn't have any materials now, but you can see that the animation that she did with neural posing is now living in a geometry cache imported through the session in Unreal.
And it doesn't have materials because we're trying to figure that part out still. Is that right?
That's right. So the idea would be that we're going to have a way to connect it to the shaders that are already living in Unreal. So whatever it was sort of before, when it comes back, it'll know to link up the materials with the corresponding names. Right now, I could go in and manually adjust the 18 materials that are on here, but yeah, it's ideally we have it automatically do that on import.
Yeah, and I'm also thinking of this in the context too, the other side of my brain of the how can this similar flow exist on the web browser version of things? And I'm kind of using the web browser version as a barometer of simplicity in some regards. Okay. I think we can break for today. So to summarize, that's the full round trip. Very, very exciting. I know we've been beating up a lot of aspects of this. We just haven't had a chance to do that together. But the headline is, yeah, we can get around. We can get around trip. Really exciting. That's a huge, huge milestone. I'll talk with Hubert and Stephen and Wei. My gut is after going through this session, we should spend a fair bit of time just playing catch up on some of this to kind of polish up this experience and make it as frictionless as we can, because we're going to have some real users wanting to get in there and start using it soon. So I think there's two tracks. One is polishing this, and then Hubert, I know, still leading some of the new AI features is sort of like a parallel track. And then as those AI features are ready, we integrate them into, the latest and greatest polished, frictionless version of that workflow that we just went through. So I think they can exist in parallel. But yeah, my hunch is let's take some time collectively to put our brains on how do we make that experience that we just went through, as seamless as we can. But all the foundation is there. Really, really exciting. I think we captured a lot. And Sophia, huge thank you for that. Was painstaking, and we've been at it for almost 2 hours. So really, really appreciate it.
I will compile all of our action items of all the things that we identified today on our Notion page. I believe everybody has access. So I'll put it up there and assign everybody who I think is going to be the owner of that task.
That's incredible. Wow, great. So yeah, let's keep rocking. Super exciting. We're going to have a pipeline expert specialist who ran a big animation company called Jelly Roll, which some of you are probably familiar with, based out of the UK. He's going to come in here and help us look at our product and look at the product and figure out how we can start deploying it on real projects. Hence why I wanted to start going through this exercise and really get it, game time ready, so to speak. And I think we know what to do from here, but it's really exciting. Anybody have questions as we wrap here?